So before I can combine more than one element, I have to decide where it's going to go in this atmospheric perspective or foreground to background space. Let's say I want to do this as one of my closer middle grounds. Now, I've provided you with files, not only my sample file, which is this file that shows you how I broke down my layers. Um, I've also given you a template for the animated environment for all layers. That is a blank template that has each of those layers and the color associated with that layer and the size of that layer. But I thought it might be a little less confusing if you also had individual files and you could start there. So let's say I have decided I want um, I think that this is going to be the middle ground 2 level element. So it's either going to be one of my foregrounds or it's going to be one of my middle grounds. I'm going to try it as one of my middle grounds. So I'm going to come to these individual files here that are numbered 1 through 6 and open up my middle ground. What this does is this gives you the size of the entire composition for your middle ground. And there are a couple of guidelines which show you, well, that is the size of the computer screen. And so this particular animation is going to slide from front until it goes all the way across. So now I know this is my composition for that middle ground, and I'm going to come into the files where I've traced my silhouettes, and I'm going to go to the layer that has the silhouette. Then I'm going to do a select all or Command A, and then I'm going to go to edit copy or Command C, and then come back to my composition file, my middle ground file, and I'm going to do edit paste. And I'll just place that somewhere along in my file. Now I'm going to go and get my other silhouette, and I'm going to do the same thing, Command A, and then Command C, and then come back to middle ground and do Command V. Now I know that if I'm working on my middle ground, everything on this layer should have the illusion that it is the same distance from where I'm standing as the viewer. So if I've traced these from separate photos, I need to get them so that they are believable in the same space at the same size. So I'm going to determine, well, do I think the pole for this should be the same width as this pole, or should it be a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger so that this becomes believable as being in the same middle ground. And now you want to remember that this is going to be moving, so you can only control the composition to a certain extent, but I can decide if I want to have sort of a peekaboo moment where more of the composition is going to be blocked, or whether I want to have sort of a kind of a continual flow of elements. And of course I want to make sure this guy goes from top to bottom. I don't end up with blank space down there at the bottom. And I think I'm going to go with, let me put this down here at the end. And then maybe I'll decide that I want to have some other elements in here as well. But basically what I'm doing is I'm using this file to build up that middle ground, and it's coming in multiple layers. And then once I have this composition designed and we're ready to bring it into Premiere and animate it, I'll then be merging these layers together. And to do that, I would select not the background layer, but these two layers, and then control click or right click or go to the drop down and go down to merge layers. But once I do that, then these elements move together. So what I recommend is that for the first stage of developing these compositions, until you've had a chance to review them with me, that you keep these files as multiple layers for now.